not pressing start stream. I've been pressing start recording. That's why. Duh.
Hmm.
Here we go. Welcome. Okay.
It's me,
It's
the
time
guy.
to share the podcast to all the people that actually don't care at all.
Oh, yeah.
Whoa,
If I
yeah,
if I was
baby!
if I was a smart publicist, I would post the link to the stream on the Discord servers I'm on. But
It's
I only
okay.
pretend to look like a douchebag and try to not act like a douchebag.
I'm posting it on this stream, this Discord, because I'm gonna be sending it to a couple people probably, and then probably this other Discord. Because why the fuck not?
Yeah,
Hey,
we're gonna.
look,
How?
people. I've got
Is
a stream, a Discord stream on the
why
YouTube.
is Ballista still playing League? I'm gonna kick his ass.
I don't blame him. Like he can't quit.
It's like heroin, you know. That's
It
never something
really
you want
is
to
like
start
heroin.
doing.
You play
What?
League and you're like addicted, bro.
It's a problem.
Yeah, it's kind of like religion.
just coming straight out of the gate with that.
Oh shit, that's bad.
We should probably address the controversy that we've encountered on our
Oh,
last podcast.
certainly. Give me a moment. I have I have an announcement that I wrote
Oh,
up, but it's on my laptop, so I'll have to
oh shit!
I'll
Is it
have
about the
to get
controversy or is it
that
about
first
something
of
else?
all. Give me a moment.
All right, I guess I'll just vamp for a second. So, yeah, we missed a week. I don't know what
Right.
happened, but here we are,
Yeah,
two
I
weeks
have
later,
a written apology like a professional.
like a pro.
Like a pro.
I'm vamping for you, you know, covering for time,
Yeah.
like a good side man. Maybe that's what I should do if my podcasting career fails. I'll go back. I'll build a time machine, go back to the mid 2000s, and be a hype man for shitty rappers. Move to Atlanta.
The new Vanilla Ice, dude. Just
Nah, I want to be the new. Who's the guy that works with Macklemore? I want to be the Ryan Lewis
the
of
Ryan Lewis.
Macklemore. Yeah.
Okay.
So, chat. What's your favorite color? Mine's puce with brown polka dots. Shit. I don't know. I don't know. I don't know what's new with me. I feel like I should fill the airwaves, fill the time, but I got nothing going on. I'm just doing my thing. Ooh, I got a Pink Floyd poster that I have not put up yet because apparently it's heavy as shit, and I need heavy duty command strips. That is the most interesting thing that I have to share right now.
I've got it here. I suppose I
He's
didn't
got it.
save it,
All
and
right.
so thankfully I recovered it using the Google recovery documents, or not
Oh
Google,
yeah,
the Microsoft Word recovery. So
nice.
I do need to apologize before we start anything significant on this podcast. There are a
Mhm.
couple viewers that complained about one of the jokes I made last podcast, and that joke was about giving a Joe job for personal gain.
Sorry, a Biden blowjob.
Yeah, and after some reflection, I realized that what I said was totally wrong. Um, Let me reiterate: performing sexual acts to powerful people for personal gain is highly illegal, and not only that, but totally immoral. Monetary gain should never surpass one's desire for human decency.
Sorry, there's nothing funny about that. There's nothing funny about that. Keep
There's
talking.
nothing funny about that. Otherwise, we would not have the great nation, which is America. If we didn't put decency above financial gain, we would be a nation of people who would complain about the minimum wage increase, which inflects inflation rates. So yeah, I just wanted to apologize for that. Obviously, what I said was not okay, and should never be considered okay.
Thank you for.
I deeply, deeply regret. Oh boy, I didn't even. I'm not even on the. I'm just showing the chat here. Yeah, I deeply, deeply regret everything that I said the last podcast referring to the Joe job. So.
Well said, brother.
I think it was important to apologize for that. Just
Thank
let
you
my
for
errors be known.
bravely addressing the conflict like a real man.
Yep, of course.
Yeah. Our deepest condolences.
Of course, yeah. So anyway,
man,
I guess we might as well get into it. This week's been pretty crazy.
Yeah.
I think.
Shit happens, man. Where do you want to start?
I guess global warming is real. I guess. Well, not global warming, but climate change.
Global cooling.
Global cooling.
Yeah.
Climate change is real. It looks like we had a huge cold snap in Texas.
Did you hear about like what Ted Cruz said? Like, I'll believe in climate change when Texas freezes over.
Oh yeah, I heard that, bro.
That was great.
That was hilarious. Like somewhere like 4 years ago, Ted Cruz says, "I'll believe in climate change when Texas freezes over." Meanwhile, he's flying over to Cancun.
Because his daughters wanted to. His 12-year-old daughter. Like, oh, we want to go down to Cancun with some friends, 12-year-old.
Can we go down to Cancun in the middle of the blackout, please? Now, personally, like, a lot of people are saying, like, this is, like, a huge, not really an abuse of power, but, like, this is,
it's a scandal.
Yeah, it's something that Ted Cruz shouldn't have done as the leader of the nation. But my personal opinion is, like, Ted Cruz is like a senator, right?
Yeah.
He's not really the leader of his state. He's like a representative for, a district. Yeah. And I mean, you could argue that, he is somebody who should be, like, a leader for that district that he's in. But part of me is kind of like, I don't know, senator. I can get governor maybe.
Yeah, the governor shouldn't be leaving. But like,
yeah, but the senator, I mean, like, I don't really think about the senator as having as much influence as the governor in terms of the state at large,
Yeah,
I don't think of him as the captain of the ship,
Yeah. So is Congress even in session right now?
I'm not actually sure.
Because I don't know. Because like he'd be in Washington anyway. Like.
Yeah.
I think you just have a bunch of centrists on Twitter that don't really know how Congress works.
Mm-hmm.
That's a lot of it, even though it is like a legitimate like gripe. And I guess it's more like the principle than anything.
Yeah.
I don't know.
In terms of like being like a person with a family, if I had the ability to go to Cancun during the the cold snap in Texas,
state of emergency.
Like I would totally at least bring my family there, and if I was bringing my family there, I would go with them. But I kind of understand where people are coming from with that.
Yeah.
However, like, if I was in Ted Cruz's situation, I'm not really sure I would do anything really that different.
I mean, it's tricky because like if you have the power, obviously you want to ensure the safety of your own family, and yeah, you want to be with them. But also, like as a politician, as somebody whose job it is to have a completely pristine, pure image with your voter base, the dude's an idiot.
Yeah, for sure.
Like,
it's not good optics for sure.
And since politics is all about optics and definitely not about anything else.
Yeah, especially today more than anything, where like pretty much anything you do is put with looked at with a fucking magnifying glass, I
you having a
can't talk
stroke?
right now because I've been drinking all day, but I'm sorry. But yeah, I mean, like, that's pretty much it.
Yeah. What a guy. I like how. Were you ever under the illusion that Ted Cruz was anything other than a douchebag? Like, was there a point, like, in the primaries back in 2016 where, like, Ted Cruz is a stand-up guy?
I think, like, very loosely, but Luke, the other guy that's supposed to be on the podcast right now, he told me that like Ted Cruz was like a globalist or something. So I just I was like, fuck Ted Cruz, you know. But like, I really haven't really had a great opinion of Ted Cruz since. That's probably partially influenced by that. And then like, I mean, there's other things about Ted Cruz, like he could never be president because the Democrats would like say, oh, he was born in Canada or something like that. So technically, he can't be president. And that's kind of bullshit.
I guess that
law.
I guess that is a law, isn't it?
Yeah. And honestly, that's a good segue for the other thing I wanted to talk about, which is immigration law.
Oh boy, howdy.
So I recently saw a Vice News video about a certain Korean individual. He was sent over to America in like right after the Korean War, right? And his foster parents never did the paperwork for his citizenship. So 30 years later, like, he became a felon because his parents were abusive and shit. He tried to get his stuff back from his old parents' house, or his foster parents' house, I guess. And he got a felony because of it. 20 years later, he decides to apply for citizenship in America. And when he applies, he gets deported because his foster parents never did the paperwork. And like this guy he had a family, he had a barbershop, you know, a business. He was living the regular American life. He wasn't a threat to society, even though he had a felony. I mean, like.
But was it? I mean, was it a violent felony? Like, what was he arrested for?
He was arrested for breaking into his old foster parents' house. So he had a couple of sentimental objects that he had still at his second foster parents' house.
That they were withholding from him.
He tried to get those back. I think it was a pair of sneakers that he took from Korea, I believe. And he got arrested for that and was charged with a felony. And I think like this is a pretty interesting case because it's partially like felonies and the severity of that. Like to what degree should we really be weighting felonies over just regular state breaches of law? And then there's also the question of how much leniency should we actually allow in immigration law? Because when you're in a case like this where the person has technically not gotten American citizenship, but they've spent their entire life in America, they never even learned Korean, and yet they're sent back to South Korea because their parents, like, it wasn't even their fault, their parents didn't apply for citizenship. At what point do we say, like, okay, this person is obviously American, so what do we do here? I mean, like, there isn't a lot of leniency for judges in this case because the immigration law is pretty cut and dry. It's like, they're not a citizen, they're in America, they don't have a visa, they go back, and there's not much a judge can do about that.
Yeah. I think the question is sort of less about leniency and more about what are these laws that we're enforcing in the first place, you know? I think because if you remember back in 2016, like Trump's, like 60% of Trump's campaign platform was we're going to fix immigration. and that was just like his populist rhetoric to get into the White House, right?
Yeah.
So the thing is, like, this this is kind of a tangent, but I'm gonna keep going anyway.
Maybe we might get back to where we were talking about
Yeah,
initially.
but the idea of, oh, we're gonna build a wall, oh, we're just gonna deport a bunch of people, we're gonna keep people out that we don't want, is treating a symptom of illegal immigration and not like the root cause of why it happens in the first place. Like, there's a reason that people go through illicit channels, and I think a lot of it falls down to like the inefficiency of the legal the illicit legal channels. So I think that that's really the only way to really fix the root cause, because most of the people coming, most of them, I'm sure, as Fox News would deny, most of them do want a better life. Like, some of them are obviously like cartel or what have you, violent criminals.
Yeah.
But the vast, vast, vast majority are normal people like you and I that just want the American dream.
Yeah.
And so, like, right-wing populists have sort of like run with the opposite of that and have this cognitive dissonance or whatever. So yeah, Trump's an idiot, and he caters to idiots.
For real. I mean, like, yeah, I mean, obviously there's inefficiency within the application of citizenship. I mean, honestly, part of me just kind of doesn't want citizenship in general, because
That's an idea.
it just leads to these problems. Like, the fact that somebody can grow up in America, and if their parents didn't do the paperwork, my parents, personally, were planning on not giving me Social Security. They were not. They weren't going to apply me for Social Security, and they did that for about 2 years before they decided, hey, maybe that's a bad idea. If my parents didn't decide that, would I be deported? Probably not. I would probably still be a citizen, but I wouldn't be able to get a job for the most part. I wouldn't be able to, be a taxable citizen, and I probably wouldn't be able to get a regular job without stealing somebody else's social security number, or buying one off the dark web. I mean, that's pretty much the life I would have to lead if my parents never gave me a social security number.
What's the thought process? What's the thought process that goes into 2 years of a baby being without the social security number?
It's the thought process is insane and crazy. Um, Current day, my parents think that Biden is trying to establish communism in America,
Of course.
and yeah, I mean, like, that's pretty much the mindset that they've always had. They're like, obviously there's corruption in America, and there's corruption
Obviously.
in every segment of politics anywhere.
Every section of human existence.
Yeah, exactly. Especially where we make laws, and and we add exceptions. If we have laws and we give exceptions to certain people, there's always corruption there. There's always means of working around things. And I saw a certain article about that with a miner from somewhere. I don't remember exactly where it was. It was on the Wall Street Journal. I was too drunk to like actually understand it, to be honest. But
I feel like that's just so indicative of the tone of this entire podcast.
probably. But but yeah, I mean, like, there's there are there are definitely possibilities for corruption to interfere with the way that our political system works. I mean, and I think that's true with every political system. And as much as I hate to say it, that's what I learned from Atlas Shrugged by Ayn Rand. I the longest book I've ever read was Atlas Shrugged by Ayn Rand, and I hate that
He's
fact.
quoting Ayn Rand.
I hate that fact, but what I learned from Ayn Rand is that pretty much any time that you have a political system, and you have people that run that political system, there will always be exceptions for the people that run its friends, you know, right?
Yeah.
The people that run that system will have friends, and they will create laws or just exceptions into existing laws to allow their friends to profit from what they run. And that's a big problem uh, with just general economics in the modern world.
Yeah.
And the question is like, how do we get by that? I mean, is there a way to have a system which is not anarchist, which actually allows for us to uh, have a system where the political officials aren't responsible for or are responsible for what they do, not
And can be held actually accountable, and
yeah,
not the American version of how we hold them accountable.
exactly. And that's the real question, and part of it is like there's a lot of doubt toward whether or not our system actually has accountability. I mean, there's a this last political cycle has been really evident of that.
Absolutely.
Because there's a lot of people that they don't trust CNBC, they don't trust MSNBC, they don't trust pretty much any of the major news sources, and the only news sources they'll trust is Breitbart and LifeSite News.
Oh, that hits close to home.
Yeah, exactly.
Literally.
And when you have people that will only trust Breitbart and LifeSite News, I mean, things aren't looking too good for the media elite or whatever. You know,
Yeah.
the people that currently run the media, they're evidently they don't look trustworthy at the surface level at the very least. Um,
And I would go to say that like inherently they aren't trustworthy.
I mean, yeah, I mean like there's no way of knowing for sure what's behind somebody's intent. I is what I'd
Yeah.
say. And personally, I like to think that everybody has the best intent behind what they do. But when it comes to the media, it's very difficult to say for sure. And when you have like a presupposed bias, it's very difficult to think that the media is proposing an unbiased job. Because even if they are, and you have like a right wing bias, and maybe the biases, and maybe like reality is tilted toward the left wing bias, you're gonna think that they're biased towards the left wing, if you have a right wing bias, and vice versa. And that might be part of the reason why a lot of people really distrusted the media this past election cycle, or it might be that the people with the right wing bias were actually correct, and there was a major left wing bias. And I mean, there's reason to believe that. I mean, there was like that New York Times, or what was it, the New York Post, right? They posted an article about there being like some kind of
How much
uh,
can we really trust the New York Post though?
well, I mean, like the New York Post is a pretty
It
uh,
is what it is.
while I don't want to say it's necessarily a reputable source, it has some credibility due to the fact that it's so old. You know, I mean, it's
Yeah.
been like it was started by what was it, James Madison, I think,
I wasn't. That
or
sounds right, because Alexander Hamilton founded something. Either he
it might
founded
have.
a different one, or he founded. I'm actually gonna look this shit up. I think he founded it
Okay,
under a different name, and then it morphed into the Post. Let me look this shit
I'll
up.
be right back in like half a second. Give me one moment.
All right. Um, for the viewers at home, I was right, by the way. It was Alexander Hamilton. This is what you get for being a big brain theater nerd and watching Hamilton once and thinking you know everything about federalism. Ah, You know, when you really think about it, I think Hamilton coming out kind of ruined history, ruined the study of history with middle schoolers and high schoolers for a while. Uh, he's got a bunch of fucking dumbass theater kids. Like, oh, for those who don't know, I've done theater for many years in a local community company. I love it. It's something I really like doing. But some of those people are not historians, and sometimes they watch Hamilton and think, you know,
All right, I'm back.
they know stuff. After,
Okay.
I'm talking about how Hamilton ruined the study of history.
Hamilton.
I was right, by the way. It was
Alexander
I was talking
Hamilton
about
that
how
did the New York Post.
yeah.
Okay.
So I was talking about how Hamilton coming out kind of ruined the study of American history for a while because you've got a bunch of dumbass theater kids that think they know everything about federalism.
Okay. Interesting.
Anyway,
Yeah.
I'd actually about the media.
Mhm.
I think that there's like a cutoff point to where you can trace like where the right and left wing like the really strong bias in both directions really started kicking in. And I figured this out from a Jon Stewart bit. I don't know how much of a fan of Jon Stewart you are, but I was going on a binge one night and I saw a clip where he's talking about 9/11 and how 9/11 created the 24-hour news cycle, right? Because then you had to have constant updates of what was happening in New York because it's this horrible American tragedy.
Yeah.
And then news stations realized, oh, we keep this going and make a shit ton of money, right?
Yeah.
And so they kept with that model. And because with a 24-hour news cycle, you can't have days where there's nothing going on. Like, you can't. You have to have something. You have to manufacture excitement. You have to manufacture bias. You have to rile people up. You have to incite things.
Yeah.
You have to start trouble where there is none to get ad revenue to line your pockets. I am by no means a leftist, but I think if there is any evidence of the failures of capitalism, I think you need to look no further than the news media. I think that it's hard to talk about without sounding like an Alex Jones, nut job. But I think the media is actually kind of like the biggest societal evil right now.
Yeah. Now that you mentioned Alex Jones, I really wish that other Luke was on this podcast because he would be able to go off on that shit. It is really, really sad. I'm going to make sure that he's not on some other... Okay, no, he's not.
Just ping him and tell him we're talking about Alex Jones.
He's on Valheim.
Valheim?
I'm going to
what is he doing?
Get the fuck on real quick.
He knows we're recording. Is he just, like, quitting the podcast?
Get the fuck on the podcast. There we go. Okay. Anyway, so, also, I should also double apologize. I mean, I know I made an apology at the first part of the podcast, and that was for Ellen's dad to watch and then leave before it got to this point. I apologize for missing last podcast because I was too drunk and high to actually do a podcast. I went to one of my friends' houses.
I should have made that connection. I don't know.
I went to my friend's house on Valentine's Day, and I decided, to drink a shit ton of wine. And then my friend was like, hey, let's smoke some weed. And I normally don't smoke weed. So I smoked some weed with him. And then I got really high, and I spent about 4 hours at his house throwing up in his toilet.
Oh, man, did you get crossfaded?
Huh? Yeah, I got
crossfaded.
I got crossed, pretty majorly crossed, and yeah, I mean, like when I drove home, I was like, I don't want to do anything today at all. And it was actually more than that. I didn't want to do anything for the rest of the week, and I actually missed about 3 classes or something like that because of that.
Ouch. That sucks, man. Sorry to hear that.
Yeah, it's all right. It was a reminder to me that because personally, I have to smoke weed every once in a while to remind me about how much I don't like smoking weed. Because I've smoked weed a couple times in the past, and for me, there's only been like one time where it's been a good experience, but
Really?
I've smoked like a couple other times and it's just been a bad experience, and that's because I like alcohol a lot. Like I'm a big fan of alcohol. And so
This
pretty
is a
much whenever I'm
discriminator.
doing drugs or anything, I'm also doing alcohol at the same time.
Yeah.
So when I smoke weed, I'm pretty much always crossfaded.
Yeah.
And it's just a bad time for me when I'm crossfaded in general cuz I don't smoke normally. So, I mean, if I drink and smoke, then it's just a bad time for me.
Yeah. Most
But
of most of my friends who smoke actually like don't drink,
yeah.
which is something I've noticed a lot.
Yeah, I
I
mean,
don't know if you've had the same experience.
um most of my friends do drink. Well, I mean, I say that with kind of an asterisk. The friends I'm talking about, I kind of haven't talked to for a long time because we had a big fight. So I guess we're not
Mm,
really friends anymore. Um,
gotcha. That
but
sucks.
they used to smoke and drink a lot because they smoked all the time and they drinked all the time because they had like one of those retail jobs where it doesn't really matter if you're drunk while you're there. you um, but yeah, I mean like a lot of the friends that I have that do drink and smoke currently, they don't really drink heavily. They don't
Mm,
really drink liquor like I do. But personally, I enjoy liquor quite a bit. I enjoy mixing quite a bit. So
yep.
I mean, that's that's my vibe. And obviously, every once in a while, I smoke too, and then I realize smoking fucking sucks. And then I don't do it again for about another 3 months, and then I'll try it
Yeah.
again, and then I'll be like, yeah, this kind of sucks.
Have you ever done it while not crossed?
Yeah, at some point I did, but I didn't really enjoy it that time either.
Yeah.
I think my exact thoughts at that point was like, I would much rather be drunk than smoke weed because at least then I could actually think. Because one of the things I notice a lot when I'm drunk, when I'm high, is I can't think as well as I can when I'm drunk. Oftentimes I get a lot like very anxious and I can get in thought loops or something like that.
Mm,
Or at worst, I literally can't think at all. Like if I want to think about something, I just can't. But when I'm on alcohol, I'm able to think. It's a little bit slower, but at the same time, since I'm the way I am, it's also a little bit clearer.
gotcha.
So yeah, I mean like that's pretty specific to me. But I mean
Because
that's
I
the
mean,
way it is with
everybody
alcohol.
handles substances differently.
Yeah, exactly.
Have you ever have you ever dipped your toes into psychedelics at all?
Oh, dude, I did shrooms once,
Nice.
and that was a very fun experience. There was one instant. Well, I mean, there's only one instance because I only did shrooms once, and well, actually, technically, I did shrooms twice, but the second time I did it, it was a microdose, and
Mm,
like I pretty much the only thing I felt from that was a headache, and then I did weed after that, and then I mean, it was like a little bit better, but it wasn't great. It was kind of wish I didn't do anything at that point. But the first time I did it, it was incredible,
yeah.
because I was with my friend who I'm not really friends anymore with, but he had a convertible, and it was the middle of summer in 2020, right? So I'm in his convertible, and he is not on shrooms, of course, because if he was driving a convertible on the amount of shrooms I
Yeesh.
was on, that would be a bad time for everybody. But anyway, I was on shrooms with me and my friend and this other person who was driving us, who was not on shrooms. Just to make that clear.
Yeah.
And I thought I was in a movie. I'll be honest. Like it was incredible because everything looked like, you know how in current day movies everything is oversaturated and all
Mhm.
of the greens are super bright and all of the, yeah, like it was like that but in real life. You
Damn.
know, I would look at myself and I thought, wait a second, am I like a surfer dude in California in some fucking movie?
That's
Like, cause
awesome.
yeah, I could see myself in the convertible mirror, and I was like, I was wearing. Wait a second, I've got the shirt that I was wearing, I think, in my closet. Well, actually, wait a second. No, I don't. I don't have it. But it was black with some like pink flowers and stuff on it.
That's
And
perfect.
looking at that shirt, man, it was absolutely incredible. Um,
That's crazy.
and j- like going into the woods, man. We went into the woods. It was a place called Lemon Lake, um, and I could look at that tree, the trees for hours, dude. I looked at one specific tree and I saw there was a trapezoid, right?
Mhm.
And I'd look at it and I was like, well, actually no, it was a rhombus. Sorry. And the
I,
rhombus had
who cares? I don't speak math.
the rhombus had multiple rhombuses within it, you know, and it's kind of diamond shaped like that, right? And
Yeah.
it kept going inwards, and I saw it, and just I could look at that shit for hours, man, hours. I swear, because it was just so cool. The visuals are great on shrooms, and then there's also like very reflective things that you would. I'm hesitant to say that you wouldn't find on your own because I think that definitely some of the things that I found could be found on my own with reflection. Um,
Yeah.
However, I think some of the I mean some of the things are very profound that you find out. Like one of the reasons I used to be a very trolly person. I like to think that I'm not as trolly as I was before because I realized that feelings are really like a primal thing, and trying to evoke feelings is pretty nasty. Because one of the things that made me realize that is I was in a gas station parking lot, and I listened to this lady talk about, you know, somebody. I don't know who it was. It was probably her daughter, but I don't know specifically. And the way she was talking about her, you could feel that like she hated her, you know. You could just feel there was like hate in her words, and that was just very difficult to hear and to feel like that hate. And so I kind of realized like hatred is just a very very bad thing in a more profound way than you really like think about in real life. I mean, like you think of
Yeah.
the word bad. I mean, you don't really think like, you know, the worst thing they could possibly be. You know?
It's just bad.
Yeah, yeah. But in a very profound way, I thought hatred is a very bad thing. In one of the most deepest senses that I could possibly feel, like it makes you feel like shit. And I was like,
Yeah.
that is a feeling I do not want to evoke in anybody else. What I want to spread is love, you know? I want to make people feel the opposite of hate. And that was something that was really profound for me. Um, and it might be one of those things where it's just like he's a shroom kid who did shrooms once and now he's the fucking god of the universe and he knows everything. But but for me personally, that was a very profound idea, and that means a lot to me now. And I don't know. I mean, it might not mean anything to anybody watching this stream, if anybody's watching the stream. But it meant a lot to me at that time, and it means a lot to me today.
No, I totally get that, dude. I don't think that's like just a just a just a shrooms thing, because like I've heard people tell psychedelic stories, and I'm like, yeah, I could have figured this out before, but I still understand how like that stuff like evokes those things out of you.
Mm-hmm.
I kind of had a similar like breakthrough about how something you think about is so commonplace, and yet in the grand scheme of things, it is so important. But
Mm-hmm.
with you was hatred, but me, it was love. So back in like I want to say it was November, I had like a 2 day period where I was just like super anxious.
Mm-hmm.
I it was probably a lot of things, like a combination of school pressure and still like hurting from a pretty bad breakup. But no, there was this 2 day period, and the first night, um, normally I try to like have a podcast on or watch YouTube videos or whatever to fall asleep to quiet the voices in my head.
Mm-hmm.
Just because otherwise I'm gonna stay up for longer than I really want to, anxious, and not be able to fall asleep.
I feel that.
So, yeah, you get me. So one night I'm like, I can't do this. I can't shut it out. So I just turn my phone off, and I'm just sitting up in my bed, looking up, and I think to myself, why keep going? Why why do we live? Why do we bother continuing with this if life is suffering? And I just kept thinking, okay, maybe it's about achievements. Well, achievements don't really satisfy you if it's not for some sort of greater good, like family. But I just kept going through this process until I realized, why do we have family? Oh, it's the reason we do all of this is because of love. We get jobs because we want to provide for ourselves, but not only provide for ourselves, but provide for those that we love, because we need to take care of them, because love is at the center of everything. And it's 2 a.m. I'm sitting out there, sitting on that bed. My heart is racing as I finally realize why we live. You know, for some people it's shrooms, for others it's anxiety.
Yeah.
No, and then the next day, I didn't did anything done at all. I basically had a day-long panic attack, and my mom came home from wherever she was, and I had a breakdown on my parents' bedroom floor as I confessed for the first time in like 10 months that I was still hurting after a breakup. It was awesome. It sucked. So yeah, that was my moment as I realized that, because it sounds so cheesy to say that, oh, it's all about love, but in that moment of clarity, you realize what that actually means.
Mm-hmm.
You know?
Yeah.
That's my
story.
story.
That's definitely a valuable thing. I mean, one second. Let me make sure that somebody snapped me that I just sent the podcast. I want to make sure he doesn't want to get on. Okay, he just said Luke. No, it was Rhombus Proctor. That's pretty good. Anyway, so for yeah, I mean, like, for me, I feel like life is a lot about fear of death, but like, actually, before I go into this, I want to ask you, what is your definition of love? Because I think this is a pretty interesting thing for most people, and I have a pretty. Go ahead.
So, I care a lot about definitions, but I've never. I've had love defined a couple different ways by a couple different people. I think the spin I would put on it is, love is being willing to take a bullet for somebody.
Mm-hmm.
That's how I would put it. If you love someone, you take a bullet for them.
Okay. What I've always thought about is, in terms of like formal definitions, I think that love is really it's a recognition of somebody as human to the most rigorous degree possible. So,
I feel like shit about my answer now. I hope you know that.
I'm sorry, but I mean,
You're good.
like, I think that when you should really love everyone,
You should.
which is
I
a little
don't,
bit
but
of
I
a
should.
problem with my definition, because there's definitely people that would disagree with that. But I think that if you love everyone in the sense that love means recognizing other people's uh, humanity to the deepest level possible, um, then I mean essentially everything would be better. And what I mean by that is you realize that people other than you have very different upbringings, very different worldviews, very different perspectives that that differ that differ from your own, and because of that, their decisions are based off of some sort of logical reasoning that may not make a lot of sense to you, but they make a lot of sense to that individual in particular. Um, because I mean, that's how they were brought up. I mean, that's how life has taught them to do that specific thing.
The greatest evil that any one person can commit to themselves is what I call the erosion of perspective.
Mm-hmm.
Holding yourself from those different viewpoints, or even just being so unwilling to consider other perspectives other than yourself,
Mm-hmm.
is the worst, most unhealthy thing you can possibly do to yourself.
Yeah,
Um, it's it's terrible and it's really disheartening,
for sure.
honestly. Yeah.
I mean, like, I think that that's the thesis to essentially like pretty much life currently. I mean, like life as we know it right now is just us not looking at other people's perspectives. I mean, not life, but well, I mean, partially social media, but also just general opinion is based off of not understanding other people's perspectives. And
I mean, it's hard.
yeah, I mean,
It's
it
really hard to
definitely
do.
is hard. It takes a high IQ big brain to actually do it. No, I'm fucking with it. But it's definitely a difficult thing, and it's difficult to like really realize like, is this person bullshitting me? Is this person just saying like, I want welfare because I'm poor, because they're not really like they could not be poor and they could just get welfare though and live off of doing nothing? Or are they saying I am poor and I want money because they literally can't do anything because they don't have money, you know? And I mean, I think that the fact that homeless people exist is part of the reason why we should say, wait a second. uh, People are poor and can't get money because they're homeless. If you were a homeless person, how the fuck would you, excuse me, how the fuck would you raise enough capital to rent out a house, be able to take a shower, get clothes, and then get a minimum wage job? Can you imagine how difficult it would be to be a homeless person and get a fucking minimum wage job?
You have essentially just debunked the Republican Party.
But I mean, like, legitimately, like,
Yeah, because it's not just like free money. This is what you're
yeah,
subsiding on. What you're saying is how it should be treated is like an investment in their own like self propulsion,
yeah.
which is which is why Andrew Yang is so
Amen. I I have my Andrew Yang hat in my car. I'm very sad that I don't have it present. I would like to put it on every single time Andrew Yang is mentioned. Unfortunately, that's not possible unless I'm offered a 30-minute leave from the podcast, or not a 30-minute leave, like a 5-minute leave,
Yeah.
something like that. Anyway, but I will not do that unless Mr. Lucas joins the podcast, because he has not joined the podcast yet, and if it's only you, that puts a lot of pressure on you to provide good content for the next.
I mean, I can try and do some like prop comedy, maybe do some miming.
Prop comedy.
Yeah.
Do you want
What,
to?
what do I have on my desk? I don't have anything interesting on my desk. I could I could read some Ayn Rand aloud, do a live reading
Do you
of
have
The Fountainhead. I don't have any Ayn Rand, please.
Oh, okay. Well,
Um,
I mean, the main reason I want 3 minutes to get a Andrew Yang hat is because I actually want to get fucking wine for my parents and drink more alcohol, and then get my Ayn Rand hat. So it's not a
do you
big deal.
need me to cover?
Yeah, to cover for me so I can get some more alcohol.
Yeah, I can do that for you.
Yeah, I ran out of vodka, so
I can't promise that it's going to be good, but I can try.
it's fine. It's fine.
It's a scuffed podcast thing.
Jeez, where is Mr. Lucas? Anyway,
There's Discord doing the thing where it's cutting out.
that's fine.
Okay.
If we do want any, if anybody wants to call in, by the way, you're welcome.
Hang on. Our mutual friend Adam just sent me the Industrial Revolution copy pasta. I think he's watching the podcast right now.
Adam Garrigus?
Yeah.
I kind of just doxed him, but that's kind of awesome.
I'm just hang on.
It's been a while since I talked to him. I kind of feel like bad for not talking to him, but I have also been kind of anxious because of the whole situation. I don't really know what's.
I'm gonna ask him if he wants to join the podcast.
Yeah.
If he's listening right now. All right, he said sure. I'm gonna invite him to Discord.
All right, invite him to the podcast. I'll be right back with my Andrew Yang hat and a glass of wine.
Hell yeah. Oh, it's him.
I'm turning on push to talk because there's typing going in the background. Hold on.
Yeah. All right. I hope you don't mind that Luke accidentally doxed you. Sorry about that.
No, that's fine.
Are you gambling that the podcast isn't going to be big enough? I'm going to take that as a yes. This is me and Proctor's mutual friend. For the viewers, listeners at home. Oh, he's having push and talk issues. What a loser. Having PTT issues. LNA though. I should dunk on him, man. I feel good about that. I like dunking on people.
Hello? Oh, there we go.
Oh, there we go. So, Adam.
Hold on, I'm gonna listen because if my audio is bad, I'm gonna scream.
We have a very professional podcast here. Very professional. You would have no idea.
Oh God, my audio is bad.
It's fine. It's the podcast is too scummy.
I can't abide by this.
You better abide by it because you're on now, and I need to pad for time while he gets more up.
All right, I'm on max volume. This is all your fault. No.
It's fine. I can hear.
So yeah, you got to deal with this.
Yeah,
if my audio's bad, it's not my fault.
My audio is shit anyway. I don't think. Anyway, Adam, you want to introduce yourself?
Yeah, I'm Adam. There you go. Introduction done.
You got him.
Idiot.
So how much of the podcast have you seen?
I've been here for like I called you out for wearing sunglasses at 11 at night.
What? When?
Like
Did you post?
like 15 minutes ago.
Did you
YouTube chat.
YouTube chat? Oh shit. You weren't there at the beginning when I was talking about how I'm gonna leave a bit of looking like a douchebag.
You don't. That's not a bit.
See, the thing is, I'm projecting my own insecurities. You know,
Is that the bit here? Is that the bit?
The bit is that I turn every podcast into talking about my insecurities.
Is that a bit?
You tell me, man.
I think that's just you. I think that's just a you problem.
Well, seriously though, when did you hop in? What was the?
When I sent the message.
When you sent the message?
That is the first thing that crossed my mind.
It is 10:38 p.m. What were we talking about then?
I don't even remember. I was only half paying attention. I just saw that you were wearing sunglasses and you look like an asshole.
I do look like an asshole. That was the idea. It's a bit.
Is it a bit?
You know what, Adam? You're a cuck. You're a
Okay, that's
beta soy boy cuck.
Okay, I'm going to contact my lawyers.
Do it. I am your lawyer.
You don't even have a license. You can't do that.
Do you want to see my license?
Do you want me to dox your license to practice law?
I was about to pull out personal identification, and then I realized, oh
yeah,
shit,
that would be actually the worst idea ever.
It wasn't like my driver's license or anything. It was just something with my full name.
Your social security is fine.
My social, yeah, it's fine. Both sides of my credit card is fine.
Yeah, I just need those numbers on the back and like. What's your PID? I have a notepad. Hold on, I forget a notepad.
Let me know when you got that.
Oh yeah, I'm good. All right, let's go.
All right, you're good. So.
Oh, is he Yang Gang? Is he Yang Ganging right now?
Yeah, he's Yang Ganging right now.
All right.
Hello.
Yeah, we're just talking about how we're doxing each other now.
Yeah, I've been doxed.
I've got a glass of rosé. I am
what do you want
ready
me to call
to
you?
rock and roll.
You want me to call you Ellen? I've doxed Ellen.
Yeah, just call me Ellen. So yeah, here we are, Yang Ganging.
Yeah, I hope you didn't dox each other too much, because if this podcast ever theoretically becomes very big,
I'm sure you'll go very big.
you're fucked.
We're gonna be the next Chapo Trap House.
Yeah, pretty
Sounds
much.
fantastic.
My idols.
I'll be the. Yeah, what's the other? What's the one that?
Cumtown?
I'll be Cumtown. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, we already are like a shittier Cumtown.
Are you though?
Our past 2 episodes, we did talk about Jews for a lot, and in the past 6 episodes, there's probably at least one N-word thrown around.
I mean, what
that was not a good time.
What other topics are there, really?
No, I actually fucking hate Chapo.
I really need to turn you up, because
I don't know
it's
anything
very,
about
very hard to hear you.
They're
Yeah,
really,
fix my audio.
I don't hate the podcast as much as I hate the podcast community, because when I was like 15,
that's just like a thing. Like it's just a Reddit thing, because Reddit ruins everything.
Yeah, I found out when I was like 15, and I was like, oh, this actually sucks the life out of my soul. And I had to stop. So yeah, fuck Reddit, man. Fuck it. So Adam,
being cyberbullied by a furry currently because it's a whole story, but I told them they were like arguing with people about politics, and I told them to stop talking to me because they were furry, and I completely derailed the conversation because I cyberbullied them for being a furry.
Oh, Adam, what we should tell a story about how we hijacked that Taylor Swift Discord server.
Is that really a story? I told them that I didn't listen to music made by women, and then they banned me.
Yeah, I kept a big.
I think the word I used was femoid.
No, I can't remember what I did. I think I still have screenshots somewhere. I sent him a link to Clown. I told them that it was unreleased Taylor Swift B-sides from her backing band.
I remember that.
That was good. I wish I did
good.
stuff like that more often.
That was much better than my bit. Sorry, not a bit. Yeah, you're right. Sorry, not a bit.
There's nothing funny about this.
Nothing funny about this. Is very serious.
Very serious. We're professional podcasters.
Professional podcasters.
I think one of the things I did want to talk about was there's a lot of talk about a bubble, like a stock market bubble going on. And since I'm the economist of the podcast, I did want to talk about that.
Because didn't Bitcoin hit like 50K?
Bitcoin did hit 50K. Fun fact.
Hell yeah.
So The big thing is that I really think is that you really can't cry bubble without information that is pertinent to a bubble, right?
Hmm.
So in the 2008 crisis, there was a huge bubble because of uh, non like loans being passed as AAA loans when they weren't AAA loans. You know,
Mhm.
they were junk bonds essentially, and then they were being passed as AAA bonds. That was what happened in the 2008 crisis. That was a clear signal that there was going to be a crash at some point. Unfortunately, there's not really any of that signal, as far as I've seen, uh, to signify a market crash, right? Yahoo News is talking about, oh, there might be a market crash because Bitcoin hit 50K. That's no reason to fucking say that there's a market crash. Bitcoin hitting 50K does not mean shit. Bitcoin.
Literally, their only logic is what goes up must come down, which is true to an extent,
I mean,
but it's
there's some reason to say that. However, if you say what goes up must come down, you need some underlying like evidence to say that is true. Um, for me, last Friday, fuck, I just knocked my mic down. Anyway,
Good audio
last
quality.
Friday,
Good job.
one of the stocks that I own, or I owned, I suppose, I had 400 shares in a stock called Watt. It went up 40% on Friday, and I immediately sold it. It continued to go up 93%, and I never bought it back because the reason why was because there was a rumor that Apple had partnered with this company. Now, this rumor has been going on for about the 3 years that I've held the stock. I've held the stock for 3 years. I've heard people say that Apple is partnering with the stock before. The stock has gone up, and then immediately it has gone down because those claims are always bullshit. I looked into the reason why people are saying that Apple is partnering with this company, and the reason why is because there's like a magnetic battery attachment that people are that Apple is developing, and they just announced that they're developing it. This battery attachment has had patents come out for it, which are induction based. The company that I am invested in is RF based wireless technology, which means that it can essentially um, power objects up to 50 meters away. Um, and once it's 50 meters away, it's like a pretty low wattage. So it's not like, you can charge your phone from that distance, but it is a significant amount. Um, once, like, with phones, it's about 3 meter, or like 1 meter currently. And while it doesn't seem like a lot of footage when you think about the fact that you don't need to plug up your phone, you can just literally put it on your table where your watt up charger is strategically placed. That's pretty convenient, and I would personally buy that. I think a lot of other people would personally buy that, even if it's like $100 per charger. But anyway, regardless of that, currently that company is not focusing on phone based chargers, and they're
did they sign
they're
a
mainly
weapons
most
contract?
yeah they're mainly focusing on uh smart glasses, hearables, stuff like that, um and specifically near field charging, where it's essentially like you can't really tell the difference between it and induction style charging, because it's the same different distance. If you don't know the science behind it, you pretty much don't know what's going on behind it.
I don't speak science.
Yeah, exactly. So when we're talking about Watt, people are investing the shit out of this. Anyway, I sold my shares, 400 shares at 40% profit. Well, I mean more than that in profit total, but about 40% in profit. but the stock kept going up because it's very speculative. The market's extremely speculative, and I can tell that since this speculation is based off of rumor, the stock's gonna just fucking drop down. It's gonna drop down to at least 410, and that's where my stop limit is at. Or not my stop limit, my buy limit is at. I'm gonna buy about 550 shares at 550. But because of that, I made about $600. I could have made $800, which I feel shitty about. Oh shit, that's not too good.
Yeah, I don't know what the deal with that is.
Yeah.
Yeah, your audio quality is probably the worst I've ever.
That sucks.
You're doing
is it better
well.
when I'm? Wait, what if I turn my gain up on my mic?
You're louder.
Is that a little bit better? I don't know.
I don't have the stream open. I don't know.
I wonder if it's just the fact that my
I'll
audio.
contact my anonymous source.
I wonder if my audio stream is shit, or if I'm just like really bad at talking when I'm about half drunk.
All right, so
Sounds
I
better.
confirmed with an anonymous source that the audio has increased slightly.
How
Okay.
buzzed are you right now?
Yeah. Anyway, so
That's
Proctor, answer the
that's classified information. You're not allowed to know that.
Just
I know that the stock's gonna drop in the next week, but people keep buying it, right? So there's trying to remember what the point was, because I had a point and I remembered it just a half a second ago, and I don't remember it now. The
Really
point
do
is that
think better all the time.
speculation. There's a lot of speculation in the market, but if you don't have a reason to say that there is speculation in the market that is beyond the market value of certain assets or certain securities, then you can't say that there's a bubble. Currently, in the real estate market, the real estate prices have increased. There's not a bubble. The problem is that new constructions haven't been made because of coronavirus. Once constructions are made, current prices will drop. However, currently there is no bubble because the market prices are increasing with demand, because there is an increase in capital thanks to the what is it called, the stimulus check, and there's an increase in demand thanks to the lack of new residencies being created. So in a lot of areas, there's a rise in price for existing residences. However, that doesn't really indicate that there's a bubble. That just indicates that there isn't a lot of construction being made. There's not a lot of new houses to be bought. There's no reason to say there's a bubble right now. Now, in the next 5 years, the price might drop as construction increases and people get more vaccines. However, right now, it's not really a bubble. It's just the price is going up because the demand is also going up. And you could make the argument that that's a bubble, but personally, when I think of a bubble, I think that there is an unprecedented amount of demand. But I think that there's not an unprecedented amount of demand right now. It's just the fact that there's less supply and more demand.
You know, like intro to economic shit. Like,
I'm gonna be
I
completely honest. When you
I'm-
talk about stocks, my eyes just I don't understand. My eyes just glaze over. All I understand about economics is TF2 trading.
I mean, I haven't taken an economics class yet, and I don't plan
Didn't you-
on it because I think
didn't you
that they're
take
useless.
economics with our history teacher?
It would be if you took economics, you'd probably. Mine wasn't that hard, and I'd know no shit about economics. I got an A on that. It was easy.
Yeah, I mean, I'd
But
probably ace economics if I wanted to, but I'd rather take philosophy, German, math, and computer science.
Proctor, didn't you take economics in high school with our history teacher?
I did take economics with Mr. Parr. I mean, honestly,
I was trying to be safe about his name, but I guess we're just like slinging shit around here.
my thing was like
Just go ahead and
when I
dox
took
everyone, you know, it's
economics with Mr. Parr, it was just like I didn't listen to anything he said. I would do the homework, and I'd get an A. Like,
Feels good.
he says that, there are a lot of people that have emailed him and said, like, your economics class was great, thank you. But when he talked about things like, personally, this is just for me, I was like, all the things that you were saying, I already knew from YouTube. But I think the distinction, the one thing that I learned from Mr. Parr that was really important was the distinction between value and price. And I think that was really important, where price is a combination of a lot of things. Did I say combination? I meant combination. Combination of a lot of factors, and value is essentially whatever somebody's willing to pay for it. And I think that those are two very important concepts to create. Now, whether or not you want to call those value and price is up to you. But those concepts, the concept of what somebody is willing to pay and what somebody actually pays, are both very important concepts to consider when you're thinking about the economics in general. And I think the third most important thing that he talked about was scarcity. And that's what makes me very confident in Bitcoin, because scarcity doesn't exist in a vacuum. Scarcity is something where, well, I mean, not scarcity doesn't exist in a vacuum, but scarcity is the basis of economics, is what I meant. And the reason why that's important is because of Bitcoin. Because
It all circles back to Bitcoin.
it all circles back to Bitcoin. Bitcoin is the only currency, well, that I know of. There's probably like a million other currencies that are like Bitcoin in this sense, but it is the only currency I know of that literally has scarcity programmed into it. And that's what's incredible about Bitcoin.
See, why have scarcity when print money make line go up?
Why have scarcity when you
with-
have
I agree with Ellen.
Dogecoin?
You can just make more money. Why not just do that?
So I have a U.S. history test due in
boy.
like 2 weeks, and one of the questions is, in your own words, describe the Federal Reserve System. And
Whose point of view are you writing this from? Your own point of
Can
view?
you just write evil?
I wish I could.
Mr. Andrew Jackson?
So Andrew Jackson didn't make the Fed, you fucking idiot.
No, he just hates money and banks and everything, and Indians and.
Everything. Bro.
I know. I just hate it.
But no, so Adam, if you don't know, the easiest way to get A's in my history teacher's class is to literally just dispense hot takes. Like, that's all he wants from you is hot takes.
That
It's-
sounds
That's
fantastic.
it. That's it.
It's so good. Literally, the only reason I fucked up last semester is because I can't manage my time for shit.
That's
Otherwise, I
fantastic.
would have gotten A's.
That's
literally.
fantastic. I would have loved that class.
You'd love it. It's great. I should introduce you sometime. You might
I
dedicate
really want to
Wait till
have a
he hears
meeting
about
with
the
Mr.
Industrial
Parr at some
Revolution.
point.
What was that,
'Cause
Parker?
I really want to have a meeting with Mr. Parr at some point. Like, eat a brunch or something with him.
We should get him on a podcast.
Get him
Yeah,
on
get
the
him on the
podcast,
podcast.
dude. That would be weird. That would be freaky.
Yeah, this is my high school teacher.
No, we get him on the podcast and we start talking about. So, what do you think about Joe Jobs?
What do you think about Andrew Yang? What do you think about coming?
What's a Joe job? Well, a Joe job is essentially giving a blow job to Joe Biden.
Yeah. Please don't talk about elected officials that way. It's very insensitive.
Oh,
No, this
for
is no jokes here,
political
no jokes here.
favors.
So, sir, do you like dick and balls?
that a general question?
Yeah, no, that's probably. I probably wouldn't ask Miss Barr that if we got him on the
Yeah,
I don't.
podcast.
If you'd
I-
like,
I
can
would
be-
leave that
I
to
can be a
somebody
stand-in
else.
for any questions you have for your
I would leave that to
high
somebody
school
else.
teachers.
Maybe after I graduate.
Dude, I'm embarrassed to tell anybody about this podcast. To be totally honest with you, because
I
of how
told
much
you,
like
as you should be.
garbage takes we've had on this podcast.
Yeah, I told you about like what happened with my parents, right? I really didn't.
Yeah, you
want them-
told me. You told me about that.
I think Proctor, I told you as well, right? Like the day after it happened.
What?
Tell the viewing
Okay,
audience.
I'll just tell it again. So I really didn't want my parents to find this podcast just because
Oh yeah.
they don't like dick and ball jokes.
Oh yeah,
Um,
for sure.
So I'm sitting at dinner and my dad starts asking me, so what's the name of this podcast? How do I find it? And I'm like, oh shit, we're doing this, aren't we? So I'm like, Dad, are you really sure that's a good idea? I mean, I'm not sure how much you would really get out of it. So he's like, how do I find it? Is it on YouTube? I'm like, okay, fine. It's called the Ed Podcast. That's -ed, yada, yada, yada. So I get up from the table. I go to the bathroom. We finish eating. I come back. 3 minutes later, he's like 2.5 minutes into the video. I hear voices, and I see him pause. It's right when we start talking about the Biden blowjobs. He pauses the video. He turns
Classic
to
bit.
me.
The classic bit.
He's talking about blowjobs. He turns to me and he says, "You've recorded 2 hours of that?"
I just hope he doesn't tell my parents.
I there's a reason I don't tell anyone.
I don't want to be
about,
kicked out of my house.
I don't
yet.
talk about the. There's a reason I don't talk to anybody about anything that goes on the internet at all in real life. They either will not care or they'll never talk to me again.
That's pretty much it.
I think my dad was avoiding eye contact with me for a while there.
I mean, I like the story.
Is that why you're wearing the sunglasses?
It gave us the opening bit to this podcast, so I mean, like, I'm happy with that. So long as you're able to still be in the podcast, I am fine.
Yeah, I'm good. Every once in a while he checks up on me. It's like, "Are you sure this podcast is still a good idea?" And I'm like, "Yeah, I think so."
Very good idea.
In reality, it's probably not.
Dox your friends.
But if
post
you
your
really
face all over
think
the
that this is
web.
going to
Show jobs.
negatively affect your career, I am willing to delete the podcast and all of the things.
Actually, I'm planning on being I'm stealing your YouTube thunder. I'm planning on writing this to the top.
Clout
Yeah, I mean,
chasing.
like,
Absolutely.
I
seriously,
mean, we already doxed your full name, so like,
Yeah,
what do you-
all of the Adam Garriguses in the world are going to thank you.
I will at least unlist all the podcasts that you're in, or that I'm in, if I
Well,
believe that you or I will be negatively affected by the podcast.
Yeah.
So, well, in terms of career employment. If
Yeah.
somehow this podcast takes off and we like make $1 billion and we don't have to like fucking, worry about getting a job or whatever.
make 24K on Patreon a month.
Exactly. Like if that happens, there's no need, but
Okay.
that's unlikely.
And
And
honestly,
I'll probably end
I'm
up
gonna be honest. How
deleting
could
or
it not
at least
take off?
unlisting every single
That's a
single
good
podcast that
question.
we've made so far. At some point.
How could it not? It's too big to fail. It literally
Too
cannot,
big to fail. Yeah,
It
you're right.
literally cannot go tits up. Dude,
Me when
Hang
I'm
on,
about to do a box spread.
me explaining to r/Wall Street Bets how I'm about to ask out a girl. It literally cannot go tits up.
See, that-
I'm
that
gonna
has
tell her
double
that I
meaning.
wanna
See,
put
that
my
has
penis
double
in
meaning. That's a clever
vagina.
joke. You're very smart.
Big brain. I should get
I
a Netflix.
literally cannot go to tits up.
Literally too big to fail.
Literally. Well, is this a good stopping point, you think?
Yeah, now that you doxed me, that's a fantastic stopping point.
Fuck you too.
It could be.
Yeah, I'm probably gonna have to go soon, so unless you
He's
know,
got
I'm like,
bedtime. He's got bedtime.
hey man, I didn't choose this life, man.
Well, I mean, if we gotta head out right now, I mean, we can.
I mean, what else did you want to talk about? Because I can probably stay on for a little.
Let me make sure that we've gone over everything. We went over Ted Cruz leaving.
We didn't
Cancun.
really go over like the infrastructure side of the Texas stuff.
Oh
Which I can
yeah, I did want to talk about that before anybody left. So
Well, people would have had to get here first for them to leave.
yeah. But anyway,
Wise, very wise.
Texas had some difficulty with their infrastructure because they weren't prepared for the whole
That's
cold
putting
snap,
it lightly.
right?
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure people
So-
died.
I mean, yeah, like
There's
a
a
couple dozen at
$100
least
lawsuit. There's a
people died.
$100 million lawsuit.
There's $100 lawsuit.
Yeah.
$100 lawsuit, please. Sorry.
Something like a couple dozen people died. I think it was like 23 is the actual number.
Mm.
But Texas suffered some blackouts, and I mean the question is whether or not Texas's infrastructure should have actually been prepared for this kind of like cold snap, which is like a huge abnormality. Like Texas freezing over is literally a statement to saying I will never believe something. Like if I said I will believe that I don't know, fucking let me think of something that's not going to get me canceled. I will believe that rape is not a systematic
You literally just said you didn't
issue
believe it.
when Texas freezes over is literally a statement. You know, like I mean that's something that is a saying. When Texas freezes over is saying essentially like I will never believe this thing. You know, and then Texas froze over. So I mean, when
I haven't read the. I haven't read through the actual lawsuit, but there is like $100 million lawsuit against Texas infrastructure or the Texas government.
I mean, when Texas does this kind of thing where it's like, it is so unlikely that there is literally a saying about this. Should the electrical companies that
It'll be
didn't
settled out of
prepare
court. It's not
for
gonna go
something that
through.
is so unlikely to happen, be accountable, because obviously it sucks. Like people have died because of this. People have froze to fucking death, which is
People have been forced
like-
out of their homes and forced to go to Cancun because of
it
this.
is.
Terrible. Thoughts and
I
prayers.
mean, it is
Thoughts and
it is
prayers.
literally a step up from it is a step up from drowning to death. Freezing to death is just one step up from drowning to death, if we consider drowning to death to be the worst way to die. You know,
No, that is by far the worst. That is by far from the worst way to die.
drowning
can
to
think of
death.
There
Or
are so many terrible ways you can die.
Yeah, I mean, like, if you freeze to death, I mean,
That I would put that way above drowning.
Yeah, I would
Personally,
put
I
freezing
think-
to death near the
I think
top.
at some point I froze to sleep, and that's not really like a terrible thing. And I think that freezing to
'Cause it's
sleep
going
is
numb.
or freezing to death is probably going to be a similar thing, you know.
Yeah.
Like you probably just freeze to sleep first, and then you die while you're asleep,
Yeah.
and that's not like the worst thing in the world. But in terms of like human life as like a means of like suing somebody, obviously it sucks that those people died. Are the Texas power grids accountable for that though? And that's the
Whether or
real
not they
question.
are is kind of irrelevant to the court case because I would bet money on the fact that it's going to be settled out of court.
Well, you have to take into
Well,
account.
whether or not it's irrelevant to the court case is kind of irrelevant to the podcast, because I think that we're just kind of talking about morals and ethics at this point.
Yeah, because morals and ethics are completely divergent from the law.
Yeah,
Yeah.
no, I don't really know much about Texas's infrastructure, so
I like.
Basically, so I skim read the article that Proctor sent. Basically, the Texas government did not require power companies to invest money and prepare for cases of extreme heat or extreme cold. Like this is a policy thing. So they weren't forced to do it. So obviously they aren't gonna like take that precaution, which is just really it had a snowball's chance in hell of happening. But here we are. So
Hmm.
it really is an ethical dilemma. I don't think it's necessarily as I don't want to say, oh, it's not cut and dry. There's just two sides to everything because it's a fucked up situation. But you do have to like keep some perspective about this.
mm,
I don't know. It is tough. So the thing is, I actually know people who work in the energy business, people who like their job was to like trade energy in the Texas area. So I really want to pick their brains about this on how like the Texas infrastructure is set up. I'm not gonna mention their names because I have standards.
No, you've already doxed it. You've already doxed your parents, your teachers, your high school teachers, me,
I didn't
yourself, my brother.
I didn't dox your bro, dude.
Oh, you didn't? Oh, okay. I'll dox him.
Dox him. I did.
No, I'm not gonna dox him.
Get him on the phone.
No.
Put the headset on.
Are you daring me?
Just two.
Are you daring me, Lucas Garrigus?
Holy shit! You actually did it. Holy shit! I am so sorry.
You should never be sorry. You knew what you were getting into. There's no apologies that can help you now.
Man, we are gonna have to delete all of this in like a year, aren't we? I just got a text from him. No, dude, I literally was telling him to do it on the sidelines. Wonderful. We have a whole podcast. Should we get Lucas number 3 on the podcast next week?
It seems like he's not coming on now.
Damn.
That is so
Kind
sad.
of sucks. But
We need to do a podcast with 3 Lucas.
one
Yeah,
second. Let me message him. At Ballista. Hey asshole.
This is a very professional podcast.
Can I read the message out for the viewing audience?
I mean, they already saw it, but go ahead.
Hey, Ask Cole, we're doing the podcast without you. All caps except for the first letter.
Yep. That's accurate. Anyway, so in the Texas situation, like, this is a really difficult problem because, I mean, like, on the one hand, a lot of people died. Like, a lot of people died. But on the other hand, who could have seen this fucking thing coming? Like, literally, like, this is such an unlikely event.
But it's still technically possible.
It's technically possible, but it's also like, okay, yeah, it's possible that Guatemala fucking freezes over, you know?
I think what it really does is it raises the question of, okay, how much is it really incumbent on the government to really prepare for freak accidents
It
like
depends
this?
on how likely the
Well,
weather is to change that dramatically in Texas.
It's not the
And
government even. It's the businesses that facilitate the electrical grid.
But
Well, you
it's
could
the
definitely make
government-
an argument that it's the government's, because they have the ability to enforce regulations over the.
because
Yeah.
it was they didn't have the regulations in place to say, hey, you need to do X, Y, Z.
With how generally corporations are viewed, there are, I don't want to say a lot of people would say, but it would stand to reason that it would be a very strong argument that they were just acting within their own, acting as a company, so that you can't really hold them accountable. But you could definitely hold the government accountable for not enforcing regulations on them.
Mm-hmm.
It's interesting stuff.
I think like go on.
Like I was saying, there's like a possibility that this goes on to like set a following court case, if it ever does go to court, instead of getting settled out of on the side, which has like that'll happen when Texas freezes over. um, if it does go to court, I think it has the potential to have a kind of interesting precedent set, but it's probably not going to happen. I had somewhere else I was going with, and then I forgot.
Apparently, they've been charged with gross negligence. I can definitely see negligence. Hold on, I'm reading an article right now.
I had something else I was going to say. Damn.
Apparently, they had knowledge of the dire weather forecast for at least a week in advance, and knowledge that the system was not prepared for more than a decade.
But if you have that news and you know, and the infrastructure simply can't handle it, like, what do you do?
There's also like, what can you do in a week?
Yeah. Do you just like send a message out to your?
It really depends
your
on what the
base?
sort of message or the sort of
You just
precautions
say,
they took.
hey, our system sucks. You're fucked. Have fun. There's nothing we can do. Like, what do you do in a situation like?
Let me see what kind of court's this being settled in. This being decided in, filed
Wouldn't
in,
it-
whatever.
Wouldn't it be civil?
Yeah, it's obviously a civil. I'm talking like district or like
Oh,
what kind of
district.
court? What kind of like district? Like what? Like you know what I mean?
I mean, it's not fair, wouldn't it? I don't think it would be.
I'm still reading.
Our other viewer told him to tell him Texas is just enlarged Ram Ranch and deserves death. Thank you for that. That is.
Are you going to
excellent
tell him that, or are you going to just read off comments and
I'm just
act
gonna
like
read off.
act like that's not something you're saying?
comment.
The plausible
that-
deniability of that that could just not be a comment. You could just be saying that.
Who needs plausible?
Where's the
deniability?
evidence that that wasn't you just speaking?
I got your evidence right here, pal.
I have a comment right here. It says, "Tell him he looks like a bitch because he's wearing sunglasses at 11:30 in the evening."
This is exactly.
That's a
what I
comment
wanted.
that I got.
I feel so bullied right now. I feel unwelcome. I feel unsafe.
You gotta do it in an apology video now.
Yeah, I should apologize.
Yeah, make it like 20 minutes long.
I'll get on that.
And
I'm
what
so
you have
sorry
to,
for
you
wearing
have to include
sunglasses
is,
during the podcast.
Adam, in your apology video, you need to include footage of you leaning forward and turning on the camera, and then leaning back and sitting here for like 30 seconds.
I'll have the rim lights around my eyes, so I look like a psychopath. I'll make sure the day is. I'll wait for a rainy day. It's supposed to rain in like a few days. I'll wait for that.
You need to.
Deep sigh. Breathe in. Breathe out.
I never thought I'd
Get
have
my
to-
dog in the video. I'll get my neighbor's cats. It'll be a goddamn zoo. You will not be able to see me through the fur. You know what? I'll puppet my dog. I'll make it like my dog's talking and apologizing on my behalf.
Well,
You can't be mad at a dog.
You need to find some way to make the dog cry. Either like cut onions or beat the shit out of it.
Okay.
Holy shit.
That's really fucked up.
Should I take that back to an apology video for suggesting that Adam beat his dog?
I mean, if you want a job in the future,
It was just a this is parody. This is parody. Disclaimer. This is parody. This does not reflect my real life values or opinions. This is all done for humor and good faith criticism of Ellen as a person. Fuck.
We've already my last name is already out there in the first episode. So,
That's fine. All right, I'll dox you too.
my first name.
That's what we call revenge.
As long as my first name's out there, I don't care. Or like,
Okay.
I don't think we even revealed where we live.
I can do that.
The
I've got your
closest
address.
Thing, closest thing would be when we were talking to Han Chomsky, and he mentioned where to go to school. But that's pretty much it.
That's pretty damning, actually.
I mean, yeah, for people that care enough. I
I
guess
mean, you never know. I once
You
found
do.
the. I tell you the story about how I was harassing someone in VR chat, and I found his home address, in the
Maybe.
college he went to,
Maybe.
and then he shit himself and left the server.
like actually shit himself.
He didn't actually shit himself, but he was like, "Oh shit," and then he left.
I've done that
And he
before.
deleted his Twitter account like 15 minutes later.
Did you do it on purpose?
No, he just said things, and the guy I was playing with just said, "Hey, your college should," or no, I don't even remember. No, he said he said his Twitter handle, and he got real quiet. And then I typed in his Twitter handle, and I found the college he went to, and I said, "Hey, man, your college isn't even like uh, complying with quarantine regulations or something like that." And he like shit himself and like left.
Damn. Part of me wishes.
He was some British guy. I don't know who he was.
Oh yeah, this sounds familiar now that he was British. Yeah. Bro, imagine being British. Honestly,
God, I couldn't. That's just a thing I wouldn't wish on anyone. I'm gonna. If you guys are gone, I'm like, I'll be back in like a minute or so.
I should.
If you're
probably-
gone, I'll just expect that I was doxxed, and you know,
Alright.
I'll take the appropriate measures.
Good riddance. Get the fuck out. So yeah, Proctor. I'm wondering if Ballista's continued irregularities are a thing. Should we just like keep her a third seat?
Sure, why not?
I don't know. It's an idea. Because I feel like because the first episode was really rough and it was just the two of us, and today has actually been like going super smooth, just the two of us. But I think the third person is probably a good setup. I don't know if we just like test the waters. I don't know. Something to think about.
I mean, personally, I do like having Ballista in the chat.
Yeah, Ballista's great.
But I mean, like, if
Only
he
if he
keeps
shows
doing
up.
this, like, and I don't know if he's gonna keep doing this. Like, this might be just like a one-time thing. Who knows?
Yeah.
But I mean, like, if he does this, like, it could just be us, or like somebody else. You know?
Yeah.
Who knows?
Because I mean, we have Tom Chomsky on as the guest, so I guess there's
Yeah, I mean,
precedent.
like, his like for sure is definitely like irregular. We don't really know whether or not Home Chomsky is gonna be on here or not, but it's a fun time when he is.
Well, you know, I hear that former president of the United States, Donald J. Trump, is looking for some new platforms. So if you would like to, I could pull some strings and.
Dude, I am so mad. So like a year ago, John McAfee, before he got put in prison, he like put out tweets saying, "Listen, I will go on your podcast no matter how large or how small. I
Oh
will go
my
on
god,
your
that's
podcast."
so sad.
I
saw him on a podcast.
We missed the golden opportunity.
I've seen him on a podcast before. He was fucking amazing.
Oh, dude, I wonder if we can get a call with him. I wonder how hard that would be. He's in Spain right now.
I wonder that he would give a shit.
Like he would. Have you?
Well, I mean, he does have some like fucking guy as his anime profile picture on Twitter as his campaign manager.
I also like how after like 3 years or something, his profile picture on Twitter is still a JoJo's character.
Yeah, still freaking anime character.
It's the most amazing thing. That man is a legend. And
No,
also,
I watched him on a podcast. He called the coast cowards for not trying heroin, for not trying black tar heroin.
We might have a new guest joining the podcast.
Oh,
Oh, I'm so excited. I'm so excited.
Should
Do
be
I
an
get a hint?
interesting time.
Now let it be a surprise.
I want a hint. Come on. I don't like being teased.
I could say something suggestive, but I'm not going to.
There's nothing funny about that.
There's nothing funny about that.
Nothing funny about
I apologize if anyone found any kind of humor in that statement.
Other wizards.
It was completely unintentional.
Adam, where can people find you on Mastodon? What's your at Mastodon?
Flex a
handle?
mastodon. I don't know what is it.
You don't know
Is
what
this,
Mastodon is.
it's not, I'm sorry. I'm not. I'm being cringe right now. I'm not up to date.
Cringe, blue pill. No. My Mastodon is at Michael Path. The name Michael Path.
Is that
as
like
in-
one of those fucking grifter websites?
This is like Twitter, but like actually good.
I don't. It's a grifter website, is what you're saying? It's like fucking Gab or something.
Like I said, it's like
I
Gab, but
guarantee.
good.
I guarantee you that website Mastodon is going to be infested with furries,
No,
and they're going to use it for their that you know.
the great thing about Mastodon, dude, it's decentralized, right? So you never get a specific type of person on Mastodon.
You never. That's not how websites work.
No, well, it's not a website. That's the thing. It's a program, which you can run an instance of.
Like WhatsApp or something.
No, not at all like WhatsApp. As far as I know, I haven't actually used WhatsApp. To be honest.
I'm not a pedophile. I don't use WhatsApp. So
You literally use Discord.
damn it. Well, no, I'm not a furry. So there you go.
Hey, I may be a pedophile, but at least I'm not a furry.
Yeah, at least.
That reminds me of something that I saw somewhere, but I can't remember what it was. Proctor, what you chewing on? What you munching on? What's the munchie
Oh.
of choice?
Fried rice, bro.
Fried rice?
Is it good fried
Mhm.
rice? You want to share some with the class?
I got some Chinese food earlier today. I think it was like
That's rookie racist, bro.
General Tso's chicken. And so they gave me some of this fried rice.
You want to eat that more? You want to like enunciate those eating noises a little more?
Get closer to the mic.
I've been
Yeah,
eating
I
it.
want to. I
bro.
want to eat. I want
Closer to
to. I
the
want to
mic.
hear a mukbang. You guys ever
Like
done a
that.
mukbang on your podcast before? This is a podcast first.
No. So maybe next week is the mukbang podcast.
We're gonna do the mukbang contest. What's the name of that guy? Get what's his
Um,
Mikado Avocado? Get him on.
Yeah.
Yeah, he needs the views. He's
We need Joey's World Tour, whatever the hell he is. That guy.
oh yeah, that guy.
I feel like that'd be
Yeah, we
better.
can get him.
For sure.
Yeah. Was there anything else anybody wanted to bring up? Any of the topics we've been missing?
Well, I don't think anyone wants to be here. It's just a, kind of like a forced obligation sort of thing.
You literally asked to be on.
You asked me
Jack.
if I wanted to be on, and I said sure.
I asked you.
So
that
I didn't declare anything. You asked, and I merely
I mean,
that's
fulfilled my social obligations as a good friend, a close confidant to you.
Oh yeah. I guess I did ask you.
Yeah.
Well, I mean,
I retract my statements. I recuse myself of this podcast.
we did talk about immigration policy. We talked about the whole thing going on in Texas. I suppose we might mention that Saudi Arabia recently
dear.
decided to like get rid of production restrictions, which is fairly interesting. I mean, like, I don't know if that's interesting enough to actually talk about for a significant period of time. I mean, it's gonna
I don't
drive
know.
oil prices
for one, am
down,
very
but it
interested
also
in Sonic
shows
Arabia's
that
production
Saudi Arabia
restrictions.
has some confidence in the oil market. So
I don't know that I could talk about Saudi Arabia long enough to not get irrationally angry about U.S. foreign policy and oil.
I love oil. I love oil so much.
Anything can be bought from
As
oil.
as an American,
I'm an oil man.
yeah, you could say I'm an oil man.
You can say that I'm an oil.
You could say.
China, interesting stuff. China is actually thinking about releasing their birth restriction.
Oh, well, they're allowing a single right to their citizens.
Yeah, so essentially what's happening is that people
Very
in China are
progressive.
getting really old, and thanks to their one-person birth restriction, one person per family birth restriction, they're actually the old people, obviously, they're getting old. They can't work anymore. They're trying to retire, and there's not enough people to actually work after them. So what China's trying to do is they're trying to, well, I mean,
They're
actually,
gonna have like
I
a
don't know.
Japan
I don't think
problem
there's
where
any
they where
news
they're
on
literally where
China
their birth rates are
specifically
just
doing
like
this.
dropping
But
into the
there's
dirt.
rumors about China potentially raising the amount of people that some single family can have,
Dude,
which
it's
is pretty.
perfect. It's a perfect plan. Move to
Mhm.
China or Japan. State mandated. Legally. Yeah. Are you hearing what I'm saying? It literally cannot go
Too
tits
big
up.
to fail.
Cannot go tits up.
Literally cannot go tits up.
And with that, I take my exit.
This is a good exit. Applause.
This
Applause.
is a good exit. You can find me on Mastodon at
Very good. Very good. I can respect that. I can respect the mysterious exit.
You can find me on Mastodon at sodium dimethylchlorite at paypig.com.
You can't find me on Mastodon. I'm never downloading that or using that.
All right, fuck you. Bye.
Thank you. Nice to have you. Nice to be here. Thank you for having me on.
Absolutely no
I
problem.
hope you remember me when you're cruising the YouTube charts. When you're doing like VidCon panels.
Of course, bro.
Yeah. See ya.
Always remember you, Adam.
Bye
Did
bye.
you ever forget it?